Welcome to Channel 18 News. I'm Jim Rogers. 3 individuals traveling from Nashville, Tennessee to Dallas in a black Cadillac Escalade were found to be in possession of $73,068 when Hopkins County deputies stopped them. The driver, through an interpreter, voluntarily admitted they were on their way to Dallas to purchase 30 pounds of marijuana and pay $2,000 to $2,200 per pound. The driver stated that they planned to sell the marijuana for $2,800 to $3,000 per pound, or $250 to $300 per ounce when they returned to Nashville. He said the customers were friends or people that he knew. The traffic stop was initiated when the Escalade failed to maintain a single lane. The driver of the vehicle did grant permission to search the vehicle, and the money was found in 2 separate places. The money was packaged in a manner used by those who participate in drug trade. K-9 O'Malley alerted positive on the money. The Tennessee man was arrested for money laundering more than $30,000 but less than $150,000, a felony 3. In 8th Judicial District Court, Justin Wayne Andrews was sentenced to 4 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice and will serve day for day. Andrews pled to possession of less than 1 gram of methamphetamine in a drug-free zone. Charges for tampering with physical evidence were dismissed in the agreement. Mario Feliciano Zamora, age 19, of Sulphur Springs, was using a pipe to destroy property when the Sulphur Springs police responded to a call Thursday morning. He was arrested for burglary of a building, a state jail felony, and evading arrest before the morning ended. Zamora was walking in an area behind an Oak Avenue address when officers found him. Zamora ran from the officer, who ordered him to stop. Zamora later stopped in a wooded area. At the jail, Zamora confessed to forcing entry into the unoccupied residence on Oak Avenue, and several bottles of liquid medication were found inside his backpack. Zamora stated he had taken the items from the residence. He's in Hopkins County Jail. A 1999 Chevy Blazer was stopped by Hopkins County deputy for license plate violation and expired registration. However, when the deputy made contact with Carl Patrick Williams, age 26, of Winsboro, he showed signs of nervousness and did not possess a valid driver's license or insurance. During the roadside investigation, Williams admitted to having a pipe that he used to smoke methamphetamine purposely hidden under the front seat of the vehicle. A probable cause search of the vehicle found a container located under the seat containing the drug paraphernalia and several small baggies, one of which had a clear crystal-like substance believed to be methamphetamine. Williams is in Hopkins County Jail, charged with possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 1, less than 1 gram, a state jail felony.
Besides a third-place State Genealogical Society award for their publications, the Hopkins County Genealogical Society is proudly working on several projects. One is a 1914 Sulphur Springs book, and you may have historic photos that need to be included. Let's find out more from businessman and mayor and Genealogical Society President John Sellers.
Got a great group of volunteers. Our library is located in the public library in the very front room where the auditorium used to be, and we're so proud of that room, and it looks great. So
I know you recently had a meeting there that of a group, and it was a Civil War subject.
Right.
Mr. Hanashek.
Mr. Hanashek, yes, we've had several college professors in the last 6 months come and talk to us about different historical events, and that one was really good, talking about the hangings in Gainesville and what a lot of us forget about, that there was a lot of Unionists in Texas, and not everybody was necessarily for the Southern cause. So it's interesting, the different things in our history that are not as well known as some of the other things.
Yeah, so history, we can't put just even a coat on the top of it because it's varied.
Yes.
Now, there's a book that's being worked on for our town.
Yes. The Genealogy Society has been very active in trying to publish new material. And matter of fact, one of the most recent books that we did, a lot of people here remember that one of our earlier historians was Sidney Bryce. And Sidney was I was so glad that I got to know her and got to mentor with her. But anyway, we took all of her newspaper articles that she had written in the 50s and put them together in a book, and then did some updating as far as I went in there, and if she had a geographical reference that was in the 1950s, I updated it to now so that people would know where it was. But anyway, it's been a great book. We won statewide a 3rd place on that book.
Wow.
With the society. But now what we're working on, the earliest known city directory that was ever published for Sulphur Springs, and a lot of the older people remember those famous city directories, was 1914. A group, it was called the Worley Company, came in and published a city directory for Sulphur Springs. This was kind of a monumental time in our history. We had just gotten rural free delivery. Our post office had just been finished, the federal building, which is now City Hall, that had just been finished. They were already talking about paving the square, which was going to start within about a year from now. Of course, the things going on in Europe, World War I had started. There was very active transportation with our 2 railroads. So anyway, I guess it was kind of a year. Our Chamber of Commerce was active, that people were trying to come in, and this was something that they thought would be great to record the citizens and businesses of the town.
Something that you said, we had just gotten, we're talking about the era of 1914, we had
Right.
just gotten free rural, what?
No, I'm sorry, free mail delivery. Okay. Before that time, and rural, I think, came a little bit later, you forget about, we're so used to, of course, now look at what's happening with technology, but even us older ones always were used to mail coming to your front door, obviously, unless you chose to have a post office box. Before 1914-ish, there was no mailboxes in front of anybody's houses. They had to go to the post office to pick up their mail. But part of what was going on in this time period is they were trying to get free delivery of the mail and to get this done, depending on roads and that type of stuff, to where people could get mail delivered. And then they started, of course, having the postman that went out and delivered the mail. But so that's what I'm talking about.
So that was another reason people came to town on a regular basis.
Oh, yes.
Mail.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. Okay. Of course, now there were lots of rural post offices too, because we had probably 10 to 12 post offices or more in this era than we do now. There's a few rural post offices still, but a lot more of the little communities had post offices back in the early 1900s. But they came to town for trade, too, most certainly, and entertainment that they rarely got. Maybe once a month they got to come and see a moving picture show, as they called it in this era, silent film.
Well, so the book that's being worked on is called 1914 Downtown Sulphur Springs.
Right.
And you're looking for some help?
Yes, we need some help. We need anybody that have any pictures of people, buildings, streets from this era. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly 1914. Most certainly, we always want to see something that's older than 1914. But up into the 20s even, we're just trying to get a feel. We're documenting not only what we're doing is we're not just reproducing this city directory, we're reproducing it with the history that goes along with the businesses and the people. So we want people, and if you're not even sure maybe that your grandfather or great-grandfather or great-grandmother had a business in the era, ask us. We've got the directory to look it up. We'll even help you know, like if you're really curious or thinking, well, I wonder where they lived in 1914. If they lived in the city limits of Sulphur Springs, we would have their address. So, that was the other part of the rural directory. The free delivery is they did house numbering in this time period. Before about 1914, your house wasn't numbered, and it had to be, I knew there was another requirement I was forgetting. You had to have a number on your house so that the postman knew, obviously, where to deliver that mail. Of course, in a smaller town, a lot of people still didn't even use those numbers, and the postman knew where everybody lived. But that was part of the national requirement of the Postal Service. To get mail delivered to your house, it had to be numbered. But anyway, back to the thing about it now, we've had 2 pictorial histories that the Historical Society did that were wonderful, and there's some pictures in there we're using. And of course, we have been given pictures from families and from other the older historians that their files have been donated with us that we have access to. But there's always that other picture that has never been brought or someone has just discovered. And the thing that, and I don't blame them, the thing that maybe during the pictorial history gathering is they would have to leave the picture. It would have to, go through a process, and then it was returned, of course. But that makes some people nervous with a historical picture. These days, we have a scanner right at the library. They can take it to the library or have someone take it to the library. They can scan it on site right then and return the picture. So that picture will never be out of your hands. So I'm hoping some of you that might have been nervous about turning your pictures over, you're not going to have to turn them over. We just need to scan them.
Very, very neat and interesting. Well, yes, people have collections of things, and some undocumented. So
Yes.
let's say they got a picture of a house or a street, a house on a street, but they don't know what time era it fit into. Maybe since you've looked at a lot of these, you might
Yes, and that'd be a great thing to bring in, and we'll scan it for you for free, and then I or someone else can look at it. Now, that's a great point, Enola, because sometimes when you get this house that looks like every other house on the street, and it's right in the middle of the street, and there's no identifying features, those are really hard to identify sometimes. But if the house has any unique features, or if it happens to picture something in the background or something in the edge that might help us identify what part of the city, then we might have a good clue of where it is. And sometimes people know generally, well, I think they lived on Conley Street, but I don't know exactly where. That would help us.
Well, I see that the interest that people have in genealogy, of course, extends over into history, and there's so many facets of interest.
Oh, yes, and they are so intertwined. But yes, people, of course, nowadays, one of the things that's driving a lot of interest in genealogy that hadn't before is, of course, a lot of the programs that are on television now, and DNA. DNA is the new big thing to do with genealogy, not only for your family history, and of course there are different tests for different things. The family history test doesn't do anything with medical, but there is the component of knowing that your medical background too. But people are interested in eras, not just necessarily about their family, but they want to know what's going on in the place during World War II, World War I. You just won't believe all the different people we have come in with different research angles. They're interested in their family. They're interested in the businesses that their family ran, or maybe the businesses that existed. If you're a really good researcher and you're trying to do family history, you have to do a lot more than just try to search for a name. You have to put that person back in the perspective of how they lived, where they shopped, where they went to church, where they might be buried, because all that would lead you to more clues about your family. So you got to put them in the perspective of history and what's going on locally, even nationally, because a lot of times when we talk about all our ancestors moving places, there are reasons that they move from one place to the other. So anyway, it's fascinating to me when you study the whole picture, not just looking up to see a name and a date.
Well, that does definitely broaden things out. Now, I know of people who got involved in genealogy, and maybe this is one of the first things that they will do in trying to locate family members.
Right.
Anywhere in the United States, they travel to look for cemeteries.
Yes. And now there is, and we're so glad there's a heightened interest in genealogy, and the people are using the computer, and the younger people are using the computer. But let me tell you, there are still lots of things that are not accessible via the internet. And that you're absolutely right. People still want to travel for their genealogy. They want to go to the cemeteries. They want to go to the courthouses, because the courthouse records, even though there are some online, the majority of them still aren't. And so you still have to either hire someone to do it in that courthouse, or you have to travel there. But yeah, the fun of a lot of people, Ronnie Glossop, I know and he's retired now, and he was our president of the Genealogy Society forever, a wonderful president. But anyway, he has stepped down as that, and him and Nita spend lots of time going to lots of cemeteries and not only looking for their family, but for someone else's family, and they love it.
Well, and I hate it when we start to run out of time. We've only got a couple of minutes left.
Okay.
People come here to do that very thing because they find they have some connection with Hopkins County, and we do have the beautiful Genealogical Society library.
We
now.
get people from all over the United States. We keep a register, and it's amazing every year when we count up the states and the cities where people have visited, and they stay here and do genealogy, and they eat in our restaurants and stay in our hotels. So it's great for all of us.
When might we look for this book to come out?
Well, it's pretty far along. We're just in the final stages, but we are still where we can add pictures. So that's very important. But we would like to have it out by this summer.
So you'd said briefly, 10 years on either side of
Either side of 1914, any family, any business, or any street scene, anything that would be in that era, you can get hold of us. The Genealogy Society number is 885 8523, 903-885-8523. Or you can call me at the bank.
And there are helpful people that love to help.
Oh, very much so.
That's wonderful. We are so proud that we have such a growing and flourishing genealogical society, and the projects that they undertake, and there are more projects than we've talked about this morning.
You're right.
Some already done, some are kind of on the back.
Right. But yeah, we're constantly coming up with another way to preserve our history.
Okay. Well, we got to have another minute, John.
Okay. All right. Well, just, again, another important thing to remember about this area, a lot of people have seen the panoramic picture of downtown of the square that are in the banks and everything.
Right.
That was made August of 1914.
Right.
So, and what's even more important about that other than preserving history is within a year, there are 2 disastrous fires that both occur on the square. And a lot of those buildings that you saw in 1914 burned down. So that picture even becomes more important because of what happened a year later. And we lost, in between the west side of the square and a couple of sides of Conley Street and also the southwest end of the square, we probably lost 7 or 8 buildings.
Amazing. Thank goodness for history that we can look back on that. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Come back again soon.
I sure will.
Here's Don Julian with sports.
All the frigid weather this year has made it tough for the Wildcats tennis team to practice or play matches. A scheduled varsity dual match at Sherman has been postponed twice. The Wildcats varsity was able to play in their first and only tournament so far this year at Hallsville last Friday. And we learned more from Wildcats tennis coach Tony Martinez.
It was a tough day for us. I mean, we played well. We just made a lot of mistakes and, not able to get our serves in, not able to get the serves back. We were in contention, I guess, in our boys' doubles with Jonah Kirkpatrick and Alex Benitez, which is where we were at. We had to play right off the second round. We made the first round easy. The second round we had to play a top team from, I believe it was All Saints, and really that should have been the finals. Or but the coach didn't listen, or it's just the luck of the draw, and that's what I told my players. You're going to go to tournaments and you're not going to be seeded. You're going to be just thrown in there. And we had a win over the Hallsville team, which was seeded number 2, but apparently they didn't carry any weight with over there at that time. So, and I told them things will happen like that. It's their tournament, and they can run the tournament each which way. So, I said you may have to play the first ones right off the bat. Be it good or be it bad, come to play, and that's the bottom line. So, other than that, and everybody else competed well. I watched everybody; we were competing well. We just made a lot of mistakes, and they all understood that too. It was a tough going, but an eye opener. We got back here and we had good practices. The weather was better this whole week too for us to get on the courts to work out Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
All right. The main thing seemed like to me this time of year is to kind of work on just improving and getting better and trying to, it's all based on what kind of seed you can get in the district tournament later on.
True. And that's, that's going to help us. Even when we did play that team a lot stronger than Hallsville did. We lost 8-6. They beat Hallsville won. So I mean, we were a little bit more competitive than Hallsville. So those are the things we will, when we go into the district meeting, we have the documentation to show, which might have been, the stronger team there. So, but that's what we're doing. You're just working, getting our right position, playing the different people. Hopefully we get, some good seeds, or if we can knock them off, that's what you're looking forward to these tournaments here for the next 2 months.
I believe next week you've got another varsity tournament coming up.
We'll be heading to Kilgore next week. He's got a full 16-team squad, so it should be good. It should be really good. And he guaranteed 4 matches. And so that's good for the players. They're going to be playing consistently all day to that day.
How'd your JV look? You took them to a tournament yesterday, I believe.
I took part of my younger guys from the varsity team. I staggered them. You can't play 2 matches. So we went to play ours, and we did well. I mean, we got a lot of first place. Our mixed doubles team, Aaron Lucas, not with Heather Harris this weekend, but we put him with another girl, and they got first place in the A girls doubles. Good. And we were happy with the results there. They're playing well. I had a B boys doubles who are true JV, who are, they played and they got first place in the boys B doubles division. And then we had mixed doubles, where we had another team of Catherine Hurd and Waylon Maclock. We got second place in the mixed doubles B division. And then in girls doubles in the A division, which were freshmen. And so, like I said, I'm playing freshmen, and they got third place. They lost to Corsicana. All in all, I mean, the boys, Jonah Kirkpatrick went singles this week. He got 5th place. In the tournament out of 16 kids. So still happy with his results, but I just wanted him to get some hitting in, get some court time in, and that's what we use these tournaments for at this point, to get him ready for next week when he goes back to doubles with Alex Benitez.
It's hard to get stuff in. It's been so cold. That's tough for tennis.
It's been tough. I mean, we've been fortunate enough. We get out there, if it's over 40 degrees and the wind's not blowing over 10, then we're out on the courts. And because, like I said, the tournament could be the same situation next Friday, and you just have to be ready for that. And yesterday was just over 70 degrees, no wind, perfect conditions. So we were happy to be where we were at yesterday in Tyler.
Thanks for watching Channel 18 News. Have a great evening.